Good afternoon. Finally getting started here. Gosh, almost 10 minutes past 3. I'm sorry I'm late. As you can see, there's been some new hardware additions. Actually, they're old hardware additions because I've used them in my studio many times in projects for myself and for other people. And I'm trying desperately to get something new happening here. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't know who I'm seeing. Who are you? Oh, all right. Hello. Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. Just about 40 years ago, on yesterday's date, Mount St. Helens erupted in Pacific Northwest of the United States, and I got to experience what volcanic ash was all about. Hopefully we won't have anything that serious happen today. Hi, Tanya. Anyway, I was just saying I have all this new hardware. I'm trying to initiate a new streaming platform to use for these programs and for my YouTube channel. But unfortunately ran into some snags, so I'm back using the old system. But hey, doesn't it look professional? I mean, just what the heck? You know, I am a sucker for audio tech. And having been a musician since I was 15 years old, any new gadget or gizmo, you know, I'm a real geekhead around that kind of stuff. Not so much on the online, but certainly in the hardware department. Anyhow, here's the thing. My message this morning announcing today's topic is about, well, it's about alignment, yes, which is my byline for here, but it's also about solitude. And the only reason I bring up solitude is because everyone has certainly felt the pinch of being out of contact with friends and family, you know, missing hugs, missing touch, missing just seeing somebody's face or hearing their voice. That is a common issue because we're social mammals. Okay, we are animals. I know some people might get a little offended by that if they have a real spiritual bent, but we are social animals. We are mammals. We are viewing a lot of our experience through this perception, through this idea that we are somehow better than that. We are somehow more than that. And we are also this. Okay, so in the spirit of that, it's important to recognize that of all of the mammals on this planet, of all of the life forms, we are the ones that are able to do differentiation at a much more sophisticated level. Hi, Allie. And what do I mean by that? I mean, it means that we have the ability to be social by choice or not be social by choice. For mutual survivability, most mammals do congregate together. There are exceptions. There are a lot of exceptions in nature because nature's entire intent is biodiversity. So when we think of cats, they're very individualistic, can be very solitary, except when they're in a lion pride, you know, and then you've got the pride, you've got, you know, tigers are more solitary than lions, but they're the same genus, they're felines. So we have these varieties of expression and varieties of way of behaving that are very unique to each and every species. For us here, in this time, in this space, connection is vital. Connection with each other is vital, but we have been herded or tuned to doing it in this manner, through this medium. We have Zoom. I think Zoom is probably the best performing company on the planet at the moment, considering how many people have signed up for it. Yes, they have a free account and all the rest of it, but their sales are shooting through the roof as well, because a lot of businesses and business people and entrepreneurs are using it. This is not an infomercial for Zoom, and you should run out and download it. But our way of connecting is to communicate, to see one another, to touch one another. We have been storytelling creatures since the time we lived in caves and lived in jungles. We communicate our personal experience, our direct experience with one another through storytelling, through anecdote, through artwork, through music, through song, through dance. But there are times, such as these, in which we also have to be mindful of the importance of solitude. There's a difference between solitude and loneliness. I read an article, what's inspired this talk is I read an article in Sunday Observer about a woman who's lived up in an island in Scotland, I don't remember which one, for 30 years by herself. And under the circumstances we're living through right now, she's perfectly okay if it continues the way it has been for her. Very few people on this island in the Outer Hebrides, and she's very happy because what that solitude affords her is a more direct experience of many of the things that we have become dulled to, that have atrophied in us, okay? By virtue of our gadgets and giwas and gizmos that are all powered by electricity. Yeah, thank you, Agnieszka. That set the stage for radio, television. You know, our means of communicating changed drastically from about 1835. Year 1835. We had the printing press long before that, but then something changed. And what changed is the introduction and the use of electricity without much real understanding of what electricity is. So I'm throwing back to last Tuesday's broadcast about artificial electromagnetic fields, etc., versus natural electromagnetic properties. So when we get into this new era of electronic communication, whether it was the telegraph or the wireless telegraph or phones and eventually radio and television, we have come into a different state space in our human consciousness, in consciousness itself. And for a long time we never questioned it. A lot of you who are probably listening to this have never lived through a period of time in which there was no internet. There were no wireless phones or wireless devices for communication. That there was only TV or radio and nothing else, unless you were a shortwave radio operator or a ham radio operator. There was nothing else penetrating the airwaves, penetrating the walls, penetrating our bodies, penetrating our consciousness. So we were social by default. Whether you wanted it or not, you were connected to the whole society or the culture through these mediums, through the mediums of newspaper, which was still big when I was growing up. Newspapers, books, periodicals, magazines. Huge way for people to get their information, get their communication. But in this high-speed, time-destroying, space-destroying medium of digital, of internet, of Wi-Fi, the abilities we had as in a tribal or foraging hunter-gatherer sense to be able to communicate with nature, to communicate with other species, including plants, to communicate with each other telepathically or through feelings, intuition, have been dumbed down. They've been atrophied severely. Add on top of that environmental toxins and pollutants, the toxicity of excessive electromagnetic and radiation fields, the toxicity in the food chain through additives, preservatives, pesticides, insecticides, etc., etc. You have a perfect formula for a species that has not only lost touch with its current environment, but it's lost touch with its own nature and its own connection to self and connection to source, connection to higher realms. Now, when I went through the Kundalini awakening in 1994, I found that my greatest feedback loop was between myself and my spirit, or between God or Goddess or or messengers of various types and descriptions from different dimensions. Yeah, channeling was huge in the mid-90s. I was just really kind of getting a leg up, and people doing energy healing and so forth. And those things are very valid, especially since I feel that at the same time the internet was launching, the first wireless devices were coming out. So we were externalizing into the environment our natural abilities to communicate with non-corporeal extra-dimensional realms. And so when you start getting down that road and you've atrophied some of your innate abilities of atrophied, and your only way to do that is to keep in touch through certain divinatory arts, certain rituals. That's why there's been such a big movement to going to the Amazon, going to Peru and experiencing ayahuasca journeys, reconnecting with nature, people going to quiet or silent retreats in the islands off Sweden's coast. And when they get there, they have to turn in their cell phones for 2 weeks. They can't talk to anybody on a mobile. We're now finding the need to detox. And so solitude is the way to clear the pathway. Solitude is the way to strengthen and reconnect and strengthen that connection to nature, to ourselves, to our own inner knowing, and to spirit, and to the spiritual dimensions and spiritual intelligence. So it's okay to be spending time alone, even in a time like this. What you do with that is completely entirely up to you. How you wish to work with those energies is completely and entirely up to you. So one of the things that works for me every single time is music that has a contemplative, ambient way to get me out of my focus, being outer focused, having to do work, things that are on my to-do list, tasks that need to happen. And you all know this. I'm preaching to the choir a bit, but there's a certain romance here that has to be encouraged and enlivened, and that romance is with love, with things of a transcendental nature, without seeing that or feeling as that you're trying to escape. That's all. We use our devices as an escape a lot of the time, and that's, considering the way they're designed, considering the way the algorithms work, that's understandable. But we have a choice in every single moment. What do you choose to align with? What do you choose to engage with? So if you align or choose to align more with nature, you will find that that's more interesting than any radio station or podcast. Okay, you will find that there are more interesting things to talk about or to experience directly. That's even sometimes on nonverbal levels. Music to me can be verbal, but it is mostly a state feeling that is created by certain vibratory qualities within certain music. So I'm very picky about the music that I listen to, that I share in my consciousness. One of the ways to do that that was certainly pioneered for about 50 years now is the Robert Monroe Institute and their HemiSync program. So if you want to find some amazing and powerful meditation backdrops to work with, then I highly recommend looking up a website. It's just called Hemi-Sync, HEMI-SYNC, and check out what they have on offer there. One of my favorite ambient guitarists and composers, David Helpling, has currently had one of his pieces of music hemi-synced, given the treatment, so to speak, to help you reach a very deep state of theta meditation in a very short period of time. And then after that, you're off. You can just basically commune in whatever way is appropriate or just arises for you. So nature is what we are part of. Organic, living, spiritual, innovative nature. Our faculties of telepathy, our faculties of precognition, our faculties of clairaudience and clairvoyance are all our treasures and gifts from the divine. And if we are so wrapped up in the external artificial AI kind of thing, then we are not going to be able to cultivate or bring these talents, these gifts, into their full flower. I can't emphasize that strong enough. And whatever way it takes to kind of clear the tangle and quiet the noise, do that. If it means saying to people, I'm not available for the next 3 hours, you know, or I'm not going to answer my phone, or I'm going to switch off the Wi-Fi router, or even turn off the main panel master switch in my house so I can like not have the noise coming out of the electrical wiring. Great, do that. You know, your fridge will manage without power for about an hour and a half or 2 hours before the food starts going off. Why not? Hi, Sophia. Gosh, it'd be great to sit down and have a cup of coffee and in more less onerous times. And hi, Lori. So it is essential. It is essential that we, you know, be cautious or be mindful of what we're aligning to in any situation at any point in our days. Because what we put into this thing, this biocomputer, is what we get out. You know, as simple as that. But treasure the moments when you have that alone time, that space, that you can actually feel held. No problem, Agnes. You can catch the recording later. You have that sacred space, that place of refuge, that place of sanctuary inside of you anytime you need it. And then you will feel renewed and refreshed and able and willing to show up with whatever needs to happen and doing whatever needs to happen in your life for yourself and for other people. More effectively, but more importantly, more relaxed. You're not having to come from a place of push, 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 push. You know, achieve, 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 produce, produce, produce. A very wise man, a Danish mystic, Morten Tolball, once said, observe nature and all the wonders in her, and she does nothing. All right? Which is a mirror to Jesus' old exhortation to his disciples and to whoever happened to be in earshot, which is consider the lilies of the field. You know, why do you struggle and fret and fear about what you will have to eat tomorrow and how you will clothe yourself? Don't you understand that these things will be provided for you? We've lost sight of those simple truths. We've lost sight of the innate abilities that we were gifted with, and we've allowed to be muted, to be dumbed down, to be quieted because of all the distractions out there. So some of the things that I recommend, get shungite to protect yourself from EMF radiation, but more than that, it helps you to ground. Get clear about what it is that you are wanting to engage with in terms of media, entertainment. Get clear about eating more consciously and frugally. You know, I'm going to think about start doing this 1 day a week of fasting. It's supposed to be an incredible reset for the immune system. One thing I did try on Sunday, which was a high-intensity training with a guy named Joe Wick on DVD. Not everybody is cut out for that kind of intense stuff. I may go back to doing the 5 Tibetans, but those kind of postures that are found in Kriya Yoga, for example, or Hatha Yoga, or the 5 Tibetans can actually open gateways to higher dimensions or higher consciousness. One of the ecstatic postures was another one, but I don't think I know anybody is teaching that anymore. Ecstatic postures, which actually change the flow of electromagnetic energy in your body and central nervous system and actually open those doorways to doors of perception, doors of experience to other realms. But this is just an aside. These are just anecdotal suggestions that you can employ to get past the noise. You know, get past the noise. It's sort of like we're down here and there's all these layers of fog or noise that we have to kind of push through, to get up so that there's clear space above. This is why a lot of people who lived in monasteries, those monasteries were found to be perched on mountaintops, way above the din of normal everyday life, so that they could feel more acutely, more sensitively, more ecstatically surrounding nature and the input that we get when our crown chakras are open to that ionosphere and to the space beyond, to the galactic influences, planets, stars, whatever. So that's my little speech today. That's my little topic for today, is alignment and solitude, and loving solitude for what benefits it can give you, and then turning those gifts and those benefits into blessings for yourself first and everyone else you come in contact with. All right. So if anybody wants some guidance or support in how to do that, how to reach those places, or you need some supporting tools or techniques, I've got a whole bunch of them. And any kind of advice regarding EMF, any kind of advice regarding some of the cleansing or detoxing things that I've used, happy to share. All right. So just get in touch, isaac@isaacgeorge.com, or PM me through here. And do leave your comments and questions that you might have regarding anything I say in these broadcasts. And I'll be back on Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. for another Coffee Break Live update. And that'll be episode 6. I haven't been called Ike, Lou, in since 1968 or something. Ike was a nickname for Dwight David Eisenhower, who was the President of the United States before John F. Kennedy. And Ike is sometimes an appellate that I get called, but it hasn't happened for, I don't want to say how long. But thanks a lot, Lou. Appreciate that. Yeah, Thursday's going to be a different program. We have, I have some things to knock around and kind of, I don't know, rant's not the right word. Maybe get a little bit more passionate about. But I'm feeling very chilled today. Have been since Sunday, because I'm recovering from high intensity training workout that I was not planning on having such a reaction to, but things are working out. The muscles are starting to settle down. All right, take care. Have a wonderful rest of the day and evening, and we'll speak to you Thursday. Blessings in your journey.